So, the river season is fully open and I'm super excited to be back out on the rivers. The summertime is just one thing for me, it's chub. I love chub fishing on shallow rivers like this, and this swim is absolutely perfect for it. We've beaten the nettles back, we've come in, and we've got a lovely shallow gravel run. We've got a little bit of depth that way, and a little bit of depth under these trees. And if you've done any chub fishing before, you'll know that these little tree tunnels are absolutely perfect for chub. Now the lure I've chosen is the little tiny 4cm slick stick, and that imitates a little minnow just absolutely perfectly. And you can see in the edges there's minnows everywhere. These chub are feeding on minnows, so that is what I'm going to try and aim to catch on. So I'm going to get in the water, get in position. I'm going to have a cast downstream first, and the reason I'm doing that is because if I catch a fish downstream, it won't disturb the fish upstream. If I do it the other way around, the noise and the disturbance will go down, it'll disturb the fish down below. So I'm going to do that first and see how I get on. So as you can see, I've got the main flow coming down, I've got a little slack here to the left-hand side, and then we've got the flow hitting the bank, which I'm guessing is going to be a little bit deeper over there where the flow's hitting it. It's going to be a bit of a difficult cast, but I'm going to try and flick the lure under there and do a nice steady retrieve and see what happens. And I'm going to start short and work further and further down the swim and see what I can find. So here goes. Perfect. Just going to... I'm against the flow anyway, so I don't want to wind too quick. That will work in the flow as it is. I'm going to keep that going. The odd little pause, and just keep that coming and see what happens. So I might take a few casts just to find where the fish is sitting. But knowing what chub are like, they like cover, but they also like food coming to them. So if they can sit under a bush with a nice flow coming towards them, it's like a conveyor belt of food. So if I can get my lure anywhere like that, we're going to be covering fish. This tree is a bit low, I've just gone a little bit wider in the river now, just in that slack that side. Just going to twitch that lure back, like I said, not too quick because there's a bit of flow there, so it'll be working in the flow anyway. Oh, there was a little fish just hit it then, but very small. And it might be that we need to move to something a little bit bigger and fish on the surface, but for now, because of the fry that I've seen in the water, even down where I'm kicking up a little dirt now, I can see minnows and things in there, and this lure is exactly the same size, so it's absolutely perfect. But, oh, there we go, in the bush, but back off, so you won't get many chances at them. If you find a swimmer chubbing, you will not get many chances at them. That's just how they are. So you're either looking for a bite first 2 or 3 times you cast in, really. So what I might have to do now is just move a little bit further down the swim. I can't walk around the bank, so I might have to just wade out here. It's only about a foot deep on this gravel run, so I'm just going to wade out and go a little bit further down. Okay, so we've had a couple of casts downstream, no fish, so what I'm going to do now is have a cast upstream, and then if that doesn't work, we'll change lures, mix it up a little bit. Well, I can see that lure working absolutely perfectly in that clear water. There's an awkward branch hanging over there. It's going to stop me from... Oh, that's the one. Alright, nothing that time. Oh! Some little chub just followed that in, which is quite interesting. Go on, they're having a go at it, but they're too small really. Oh, cut that one out. So we've had a few casts with the little slick stick, the little 4cm slick stick. I've had no action on that, and because that's a sinking lure, I can't trot it down further into the swims. So what I'm going to do now is switch to a little funk bug, and because this is a floating lure, I can actually use the flow to my advantage, trot the lure right down to where the trees are down the bottom end, and then twitch it back slowly and see if there's any chub at home. Right, like I said, because the trees are overhanging this swim, I can't get a proper cast down there. So what I'm going to do, the flow is going that way, so I'm going to use the flow to my advantage. There's a uprooted tree right down the bottom of the swim. It's way too far to cast, really. There's no snags in the water, so I'm not going to have a problem bringing the fish back. But what I'm going to do is use this floating lure. I'm going to cast it as far as I can down there, and then just open the bail arm and let it feed down until I get to that. And I've got two options then when I get down there. I can either twitch it on the surface because it's floating, or I can start the retrieve. And because it's against the flow, I can work it really slow, and I can let it float back down and work it slow up again. So I can really work the area nicely. If I was fishing against the flow, there's nothing wrong with that, but obviously you've only got one chance of bringing it back. Because it's a bit of a difficult cast, a bit of a difficult run down there, I've got options with the flow against me. So I'm going to try and do a little sketchy cast and try and get this lure as far down there as possible, which actually went a long way. But now it's floating down. I've left the bail arm open. I'm just going to let that float down until it gets to the tree. So I'm just going to give it a little twitch to see where it is. All right, I've seen it there. So I'm going to leave it another metre or two, and then I'm going to just give it a little twitch on the surface. I want to try and keep it in the edge a little bit. So I'm now going to give it a little twitch. But the flow is actually quite, I can see it just before. Flow is quite strong, so what I'm going to do is start the retrieve. So I'm going to give it really slow wind, because like I said, the flow is going to be working the lure anyway. Feels quite deep there, and I'm really waiting for just a massive wallop. Chub don't mess about when they hit lures. Very aggressive fish, and like I said, when they do hit it, you know about it. So I'm now going to let that just come to the surface again, because really I felt like I should have got a bite down there. So I'm going to get that. Probably can't quite see it from there, but that just popped up. I'll hold my rod out this direction. I'm keeping the lure in a nice distance from the bank. There's a nice bit of shade, nice bit of sunlight down there, so there's a bit of everything for them. I'll be very surprised if there's not fish down there. A little fish jumping down there, but the lure's now back up this end of the swim really. So I'm going to finish my retrieve in case something's following it. So this time I'm going to try and fish the trees to my right hand side. So I'm going to go a gentle cast, underarm cast, under there, don't want to get too close. And just let that float down. Open that bail arm and just let it go down. Just can't fish it how I want. Can't see it. I think a popper would. Oh, there's a fish. Oh, see how far down that was? I didn't realise I was that far down. That's way further down than I thought. Fuck, I didn't realise I was that far down. That's the trouble, I can't see it. I can cast to that from the other side. Well, a little bit gutted there because I hooked one and lost it. It wasn't in the lure wasn't his mouth long, so probably going to rest this swim now and come back to him later. He was actually a long way downstream. We probably can approach that from the other direction, which might be better. So we'll leave it for now, and that's a good tip for chub fishing. If you find some chub and you miss a bite, don't keep plugging away at them. Leave them. walk away, go fish a different spot and come back, because the more times that lure plops in that same time period, the sketchier they get, and they don't like it. So best advice I can give you is if you lose one or miss a take, walk away and leave them and let them rest. And that's exactly what we're going to do now. So when fishing for chub and approaching different swims, it pays to keep low. These fish are very, very on edge all the time. They'll probably see you first. So keep low, keep behind the nettles, keep behind the undergrowth, and just try and be as quiet and stealthy as possible. Obviously we're out filming today, so that isn't always the case, but yeah, when you're out fishing for chub, just try and be quiet. Don't just walk up the swim and start looking around, okay? Be stealthy and be quiet. So I'm now going to creep up to the swim, have a fan a few casts out and see if we can find one. So I've got a lovely big willow overhanging here. I can see a few fish swimming around but small. But I've got a little hole at the back, so I'm going to cast into the hole and let the flow do the work for me, bring the lure underneath the tree and then start my retrieve. So I plopped it in, it's underneath the tree. Oh, nothing came out after that, but I did pick up a little bit of weed. So we'll do that again, we'll just repeat the process. Keep them as low as possible. I'll just flick it out, make a plop, let that flow do the work. And there's one. He's only a little one, but what is it? A little chublet. He's only small, but he's just come out and he's nailed that lure. So we're just going to scoop him up in the net. Lovely job. Right, second cast, a little chublet's come out and nailed it. And because I've got my nice long street fighting net here, it's quite a long way down to the water. I can reach down, scoop him up nice and easy. So we'll get him out, have a quick look at him. And there we go, he's only small, but that is what it's all about for me. It's such exciting fishing. Always pays to have a pair of pliers on you. You're dealing with lively fish and trebles, so always best to have a pair of pliers in it. It's just in the corner of the mouth there. There he is, pristine little chub. Like I said, not very big, but you know what? Summertime, catching these in shallow water with little tiny crankbaits, light rods, absolutely great fun. So I'm going to slip him back and try and get a bigger one. We'll just slip that little fish back, and I've got down in the water to do it. So while I'm down here, I'm going to have a cast downstream. This is a little bit up from where we were, but it gives me nice access to a nice tree that's over there. I can't see any fish, but then I didn't see any fish under this bush. So while I'm down here, I'm going to have a few casts and see if I can make the most of it. Perfect, just under that. We did actually see a slightly bigger chub. Probably 2 or 3 pound, come up this way, so we might have spooked it, but it might have just been moving through. So they are about. We've just got to find out their little hidey holes and try and entice one to take the lure. But I keep plopping that lure in. Chub love a plop. You want enough weight in your lure that when it hits the water it makes a little plop, because that's what they're listening out for. Bugs hitting the water, minnows messing about, any type of splash or plop, that's what they're looking for. And that's ever so shallow over there, so I'm thinking they're not going to be there. But there is like a little tunnel on the other side of the bank that goes under this willow tree where this limb has fallen in slightly. So I'm tempted to wade to the other side of the river. It's only narrow, it's a tiny little river in Norfolk we're fishing. So I might just wade to the other side there, let the lure go down that little tunnel and see if there's any chub at home. So I've just put that, there's a little tunnel through the trees. I've just put it there. Just letting it in the quite fast flow here, so I'm just letting it do the flow, do the work. And we'll just hold it there for a couple of seconds. I think if anything was there, it would have come straight out and had that. So I'll probably turn around now and fish the upstream section, which looks a little bit deeper, so you never know, it might be a bit more promising. So I'm just going to move to this side of the river because I've got more of a cast then. And we're going to have a long cast up there. Like so. Start the retrieve. So there's a slightly deeper bit at the end, I can feel that, and then it gets shallow again onto this gravel run. Now a few weeks back the fish were on the gravel runs, spawning or getting ready to spawn, but looking at the river today we haven't seen many on the gravel run, so I'm assuming that they've spawned and now moved into slightly deeper water in and around trees, which is quite typical of chub this time of year. They're quite predictable fish actually. Begin, ooh, I don't know if that was a hit or just got caught on a rock or something there. That might have been weed, but felt quite good. But yeah, it's quite typical of chub, they're quite predictable fish. They can often be found at the start of the season on the gravel runs where they're either thinking about spawning or they're finished spawning. And then after they've done that, they normally head to trees and cover and deeper water. Now what you'll find, if they're pressured, if they're fished for a lot, they'll then move from the trees, the real obvious looking spots, and then you can find them anywhere. They can be really spread out after that. Some of the really unusual looking spots. So again, we're just working that lure back in that flow, but again, oh, something's following it then. Something definitely followed it then because there's a bow wave behind it. So I'm going to have another cast, but I'm going to have slightly to my left because he came from that direction. These are all the things you need to watch out for when you're lure fishing on shallow rivers. Unusual swirls. Obviously the sun's gone in a little bit now, so we can't see the fish, so we're looking for other things. There was a bow wave behind the lure then, so obviously something followed it. Admittedly, it's a lot easier and more exciting when you can see them, but just a case of trying to work them out, what they want, seeing if we can get one on the bank or in the net in this case. So I've searched most of the swim with the crankbait. I'm pretty sure there's not any fish here, but just to double check, I've waded just a little bit further down so I can get a bait in there. I didn't want to do it to start with in case I disturb some fish, but I'm pretty sure there's none here now, so that wasn't very good. I want to get right in the back there where them chub might be hiding away. That's the one. Lovely raft there. But I didn't see anything come out. I'm just going to really, as quietly as possible, go down a bit further. Get that weed off there. But no, nothing popped his head out, so let's have one more just to up a tree. One more a little bit further down just to double check there's no fish there. Sometimes you just can't see them, they're just in them shallows. Oh, there's a little one then. We'll have another go for him just because it was a nice hit. Little chublet hit that. Really shallow. To be fair, there probably could be another foot of water in here from what it's normally like. We obviously haven't had too much rain lately, so The rivers are low, but might just try under this limb as well, because that looks all right. Like I said before though, chub are very aggressive. If your cast is right and the lure goes in the water nicely, it doesn't smash in, it just plops in, generally speaking, they will. Let's see if I can... No, I thought I spotted a fish then, but I hadn't, it's just a bit of weed. But yeah, generally speaking, if you get the cast right, plops in nicely, they'll smash it. Very, very aggressive fish. Well, that sun's now popping out. I think it's time to move to another swim. So it's a beautiful summer's day today, and you might be thinking, why the hell am I wearing waders and a long sleeve top? Well, there's good reason for both these items of clothing. Firstly, it's extremely sunny today and I don't want to get burnt. I get burnt enough as it is, so the last thing I want to do is get burnt. So I've got a long sleeve UV top on here, hood's up, I've got a hat on, and I can pull that over my face if need be. Now, spotting fish is important, so I've got a cap and I've got my glasses on, so obviously I can see fish in the water. And the waders, now I am going in the water today, even if I wasn't wading I'd still be wearing them, and that's simply because the swims we're fishing, you've got to get through nettles that are up to your head, and I don't want to get stung either. So as long as you're missing the brambles, waders are an absolutely perfect option, especially these breathable ones from Rage, because I've been in them all day and you don't really sweat too much in them at all, so they're really good for that. And like I said, it just protects you. You might get a bit warm, but because you're in the water now and again, you are cooled by that anyway. So I've got a swim over my left shoulder here. The flow's going down to it and there's a nice overhanging tree, so I'm going to get my little funk bug, trot it down there like I said before, and see if there's any chub at home. Perfect, just what I wanted that was, just under there. So twitch that back. Nothing that time. That's always worth a second cast. Nice little different area there. Today is going to be working out where the chub are. We've currently been fishing mostly shallow water. Now this might not be where they want to be today, but we're going to keep fishing. We're going to cover some deeper water later, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll work out a pattern and see where those chub are hiding. The river is looking absolutely beautiful though, full of minnows and stuff, so we'll keep moving up. I know there's some deeper water ahead, so generally speaking they'll be in one or the other. You won't find them in both. So we'll keep moving. Okay, so that's the rest of the shallow water covered. I think what we're going to do now is move to the deeper water a bit further up and see if we can find some chub there. Okay, so we've pushed ourselves through the thistles and stinger nettles. I'm absolutely knackered now. But we've got some lovely cover here and we've got a little bit deeper water. It's not hugely deep, but it's definitely deeper than what we've been fishing. So as usual, I'm going to have a couple of casts down here at this tree that's fallen in, and then I'm going to cast upstream to these slightly deeper patches over there. So we'll have a cast and we'll see what happens. Ideally, I want to get the lure to lay just in front of that raft, but it's quite overgrown. In fact, I just saw a chub, I think. Saw his white lips open up. So we'll perfect. Let that float down. Just about to see the lure. We're there now, so oh, I think it's tangled. Typical, isn't it? But like I said earlier, sometimes you see the chub and sometimes you don't. On the days you don't see them, it's just about getting that lure to plop down, just like that, in any area that you think there might be fish. Sometimes you'll see them just shoot out. As that plops in the water, they'll shoot out and show themselves. And then from there you can hatch a bit of a plan and see how you're going to attack it. But first things first is finding them. One more cast over here. Just that tree is just overhanging too much. Oh. If they're there, they're going to be, oh no. If they're there, they're going to be under that tree. So just gonna, if you get caught in a tree, don't panic. Generally speaking, few little flicks. I'll try and demonstrate that if I get in a tree again. I've not lost a lure yet, fingers crossed. Sun's going to pop out. Do I see anything? No. Definitely a chubby looking area. So I'm going to try and cast in front of the, under that willow, but in front of that arm that's fallen in. So I'll have a little flick under there. Not bad, but not quite where I want them to be. Just going to twitch that back. See if any chub come out. Nice clean run, but nothing's followed it. Try that again, but try and get a bit deeper back in there. Just like that, that's perfect, that is. Made a nice little splash. Twitch that back, hopefully there'll be chub follow that, but no. So we'll keep casting. Keep trying new spots. We'll go behind this. Some days, it's funny actually, some days you'll see all the chub and they'll be behind the snag or behind the tree. And other days they'll all be in front of it. I don't know why that is, but it's just a really strange thing that it's not just one, but normally on that stretch of river you'll find them all in the same places. Alright, I'm going to have a long cast to that other willow rather than going up to it. Perfect. Twitch that. But nothing, I'm just getting caught on weed. Another cast. Just in that, went in a bit hard that one, but we'll fish it anyway. Oh, I thought there'd be one or two up here. Get that weed off there. Right, try and get a bit harder in there. A little bit too hard, that one. If you do get caught in a tree, don't panic. If you can see that, I'm just really slowly, trying not to swing, really slowly work it up to the top and just flick it. Don't put too much pressure on. Little flick like that, and generally speaking it always comes off. Don't go too mad and pull like crazy, just little flicks. And generally speaking, out of trees and rushes and stuff, you will get that lure back. So I have one more cast, try and get it a bit deeper into that, like that. That's the one I wanted. Twitch that back. Try and see that lure, see if anything's following it, which it's not. And that's that swim done. I do feel with chub though, if you're not getting bites straight away, it's worth moving. Right, so just behind me is the area where I lost that fish earlier on. Now I'm going to get in position in that little gap, and before I cast out, I'm just going to watch the water for a little bit. If I can see the chub, I'm going to watch them and find out what because often you'll find they do a little routine. They'll start somewhere and they'll come around and they'll go again. And if I can just watch them for 5 minutes, I can work out where they are and what they're doing. So I'm going to creep into the spot now and see what I can see. Right, so straight away I can see that there's more depth on the inside. There's a little hole in the trees there. I can probably get a little bit lower and make a cast down there. And that is where they're going to be. That's pretty much where I lost that fish earlier. I'm not going to get many chances at this, so it's going to be 1 or 2 casts, and if I don't get a take, I think they're going to be spooked. But we'll have a couple of casts, we'll have a go. There might be some fish downstream as well, but I'll probably be able to see more when I get in there. So I can't see anything, but I am just going to get down there and watch it for another couple of minutes and just see. This is where we fall in. Some little chub swimming about. Just drop the net down there. Just see if we can see one. Don't want to get in the water here because I don't want to disturb them. Really growing up here, so it might be that we have to go back to where we were and target them from that same swim upstream. Now I can't see any fish. I've watched the water for a little while, so I'm going to make a cast and try and get it to plop in. Hopefully by making it plop in I can grab their attention and they'll come out and see it. So that was perfect. Nothing's come out that time. Oh, that was going in the tree, so I'll stop that. Let's try a little overhead cast. I've got a really difficult cast here. I've just got to... No, nothing there. So we'll keep moving. We'll keep searching. And then we'll go back to that swim and we'll maybe fish a different lure and float it down. Just nothing being dragged out by this. Can't see anything. Couple of casts down there, make a splash. Let's just trot that down a little bit. Right, on to the next swim. I'm not sure if that's a fish. A lovely long swim here, flowing down there, looks absolutely fantastic. Okay, so this swim is a lot deeper, I can see that. So we're going to have a few casts, just see what we're going to do. But as usual, I'm going to cast downstream first, so there's less disturbance on the fish that are upstream. I'm going to make a long cast down there towards that willow tree, try and bring it beside all these trees and see what happens. So here goes. So a long way down there, nice steady retrieve. This lure goes down about a foot and a half, so because it's deeper, I'm not getting caught in the weed. Lovely and clean retrieve. Constantly looking around, see if I can see any chub. Right, nothing in that retrieve, but occasionally when they are deep in the bushes, it can take a few casts just to get their attention. So we'll go a little bit tighter this time. Well, that didn't really go any tighter, but there was a long way down. That's quite surprising, to be honest. That hasn't gone. There we go, there's one. There we go. I knew they were here somewhere. Nice chub. Just sitting in the flow there. Look at that. He's followed that from quite a way, I reckon. Oh, he's going great. He's really pulling in that flow. Right. Just get that in there. Get him under control. He's pulling really hard. Nicely hooked though, I think, in that top lip. That's where these long nets can come in handy. Got loads of control over it. Lovely, look at him. And he's ours. Brilliant. That's what we're after this morning. It's been hard work, but we fished the shallows for quite a while and never saw any fish. And like I said earlier, if they're not in the shallows, they're normally in the deeps. They're one or the other, they're not both. And we've come to this slightly deeper swim and we've had a fish. So let's get out and have a look. Not the monster we were looking for, but what a stunning fish. Absolutely stunning. Check that out. Look at the colour on that. Proper golden chub. Really nicely hooked, just one treble in the top lip. So he's come up behind that little crankbait, that little funk bug, and he's nailed that, thinking it was a little bait fish like a minnow or stickleback or some tiny little chublets. And yeah, he's nailed that. Perfect example of a chub. Absolutely beautiful. So, what a lovely fish. Like I said, we've got a lovely clean run down here, a bit deeper, loads of undercover, loads of cover for them to hide under. And I've put it beside the cover and brought it back, and he's obviously come out from that cover, followed it for a little bit, and just had a nip at the back of the lure. Luckily, the last treble on the hook has, or the last treble on the lure has just caught him in the top lip. So, which might suggest they're not really feeding that well today. It's not as hot as it was yesterday. Yesterday was like nearly 30 degrees. Today's a lot cooler, probably 22, 23 degrees. So whether that's got anything to do with it or not, and it's a bit more overcast today, but we'll plug away, we'll see what else we can catch. So the setup I've been using for today couldn't be any simpler. We've got a Prism X rod. That is the 3 to 14 gram version. It's got enough power in the tip or in the butt to play these bigger chub, but it's also sensitive enough that you can feel what's going on with the lure, make sure it's working right, things like that. On there we've got a 1000 size prism reel, lovely and light. You don't even know it's in your hand, this setup. 10-pound braids on there, 10-pound fluorocarbon through to a tiny little clip. And it's important to have a small clip. You don't want a big clip because you don't want to make it more clunky than the rig already is. And then in this case we had the funk bug on there. We tried the little slick stick earlier, and if the fish were in the shallows more, like we've said before, I think the slick stick would have been the better lure because it replicates those little minnows perfectly. But as we're making a bit more of a plop in the deeper water, so we're trying to draw the fish out, we're using the little funk bug, which is a little bit heavier, casts a little bit further, makes that a nice plop. And then you can either fish it on the surface because it's floating, or you can start cranking it back. And that's exactly how we caught that fish, cranking it back, and the fish has come out and had a go at it. Now, these lures, in this pattern I've got on here, is a nice natural colour. Okay, so like I said, there's a lot of minnows in here. That's what we're imitating, so we're going to go really natural. Occasionally, like when it gets dark or really overcast, I'll switch to brighter colours and have caught fish on really bright colours. So have a look through the range of funk bugs and slick sticks, and there will be a few different colours in there that are perfect for every situation. So like I said, I cast downstream first in this swim, and that's because I don't want to disturb the fish that might be upstream. The flow's going this way, so any disturbance and dirt and stuff that's kicked up and splashing is the noise and disturbance is going to get taken away from them. So we're now going to have a cast upstream and see if we can get another one. Perfect. So I'm doing a quicker retrieve on this because I'm going with the flow. I need to speed the lure up to get it to work in the flow. So, lovely, just off that willow. Just a quicker retrieve, like I said. Oh, I think something just folded then. Could have sworn I saw it. It's hard to see really because the sun's not out, so sunglasses aren't really doing much. Can't really see properly, but I'm sure a fish followed that out then. Keep that moving nicely. Nothing that time. Just come a little bit more to my left. Fan your casts out, make sure you're covering the water. No, nothing again that time. Let's try and get a little bit further up there. Oh, there we go. No, that's tangled. Turned into a surface lure. One more cast down here. That's better. And what I'm going to do before we leave is just plop the lure in these bushes and just make sure we haven't missed anything that's not already heard us or seen us. So we're just going to plop it in like that. Just give it a little twitch and see if anything follows it out. Nice clear water, so we'll see if any fish are there. You just never know where they're going to be sitting, so unless you can see them at the start. Well, that's the end of our little session here. As ever, minimal gear, a rod in one hand, a net in the other, rucksack with a drink and a few lures. We've had a few hours fishing here. We haven't had many fish. We've had one nice chub and we've had a small one. It's been great fun. We lost another one down here, but unfortunately we didn't get him to take a lure again. If you need to get your lure fishing fix in the summertime, like I said, little crankbaits like the Rage Funk Bug or the Rage Slick Stick, you know, nice little lures, perfect for this sort of fishing, and it's just really easy. So get out there and give it a go.